Today I'm going to talk you through the steps of drawing an eye in Photoshop. So first I just want to say make sure you have your eyes on their own layer, that are your reference eyes, and that you continue to build up from that by adding new layers. You also want to make sure you have your navigator open so you can zoom in and out on your eyes. And it helps if you stack your toolbars side by side. It's just easier to grab things that way. So first, I'm just going to pick one eye. It doesn't matter which eye you start with, but I'm just going to pick the right eye. And I'm going to return to my layers, and I'm going to label the original eye photo so I know where that is. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom of my layers, hit the little plus sign, add a new layer, and call it outline. It's important to outline your eye because there are so many things happening that you want to be able to clearly see what should go where. So I'm going to make this tiny, like 1 pixel, 1 to 2. I'm going to go ahead and go 2. And I've got black here, and I just have a basic, tiny, soft, round brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace my eye, trace my eyelid, trace the pupil, trace those highlights that I see in there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just reference. You may not even keep this layer. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. So that right there gives me the basics of my eye. So that's my outline. Now I'm going to click on my photo layer again. I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to double click on layer 1. I'm going to call it shading. So on this layer, I'm going to paint in all of the main color values that I see. So I'm going to take my eyedropper and I'm going to pick up my whites of my eye, and I'm going to make my paintbrush smidge bigger. Okay, maybe not that big. And I'm going to start to paint in those values that I see. And the more realistic it is, the more color variances you have going on. So the more times you stop to grab the eyedropper and pick up the color, the more realistic this whole thing is going to look. So I'm going to just very quickly grab colors and paint in. Okay, so I've been going around and painting the inside of my eye, and if I hide my photo, you can see that I still have a lot of gaps in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that photo hidden. I'm going to come in and eyedrop and select the colors that were here before, and I'm going to go in and fill in some of those big gaps. It's really hard to tell what is where when you have a perfect full color photo sitting right behind what you're tracing. And the eye in the reference image did not show a ton of value, but we're going to make it more realistic when we go into shade. And like you can see, I kind of went wonky when I traced there, so I can take an opportunity to clean that up. Okay, so that feels better. So that's the interior of my eye, and I'm going to do the eyelids next. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave this here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull my photo of my eye down so I can see both at the same time, and I'm going to take my smudge tool and go to this shading layer, and I'm going to start to smudge in those colors and make them better match the reference photo. Now, if you don't see the smudge tool over here, remember it lives under the blur tool. So if you see a teardrop or raindrop shape, click and hold and get the finger, the smudge tool. Once you're on the smudge tool from the top toolbar, you can change the size of it and the strength of it. Sometimes if you get it above 50%, it's just way too strong and it kind of over exaggerates all that smudging. So I'm just blending my colors in. I'm trying to go slow enough that I don't run into the color of my eye and accidentally get brown and black into the white of my eye. I don't want that to happen. And you may even want to hide the outline to get into some of these little small areas. Sometimes the outline hides what we're looking at. Okay, so it's pretty decent, not 100%, but what I can do now is I can go in and I can do some dodging and burning to really make those values match the reference photo. So I'm going to come over here to my dodge and burn tool. Remember, the lollipop shape makes things brighter. The fist makes things darker. The burn tool. I'm going to start with the burn tool. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And remember, it's important to know what range you're on. This is pretty dark, so I'm going to start with shadows because I want to get that darkness I see here in my drawing. And yeah, that's pretty good. That's making it really dark. So I'm just kind of going in and hitting it where it sees it's dark down there. I'm trying to hit it and make it darker here. Alternately, I can go and grab the dodge tool and I can make some areas a little bit brighter. And the more value, lights and darks you add to the eye, the more realistic it's going to look. I can come in and add to my whites, my eyes. I might want to come back, and now that I've added some more value, maybe I want to shade it some more. Grab my smudge tool, smudge it around, push these into a more realistic location so it better matches the reference photo. And same things with the whites of my eye. I can come in with my burn tool. I'm probably going to have to change my range to highlights or midtones here. And I can start to add a little bit more value to the edges. Even where it's white, you can see I'm adding gray to the edges there. And likewise, I can go in and dodge. Again, got to change my range. And make some things brighter in the interior as well. And once I do that, you know it, I'm going to come back and I'm going to smudge it. So drawing with Photoshop, once you get the hang of it, is pretty simple, but it's a lot of back and forth and doing all the pieces. Now, I'm going to move my eyeball, or my photo rather, back and line it up to where it needs to be. And I'm going to walk away from the center of the eye, and I'm going to focus on the eyelids, the top and bottom. When you close your eyes, they overlap your eyeball, so you want to have these drawn on a different layer so that it looks more realistic. So I'm going to come over here and add a new layer. I'm going to call it oops, didn't click on it, call it lids. Make sure it's over my drawn eye layer. And I'm just going to very quickly use my eyedropper and my paintbrush, and that's too big, and I'm going to paint my eyelid just like I did my eyeball. The more colors, again, that you add, the more realistic it's going to look. There are eyelashes overlapping this, and I'm not concerned about them because they're going to end up on their own layer. So as you can see, I've just finished painting the eyelid top and bottom. Now I'm going to take my smudge tool, make it a little bit bigger. Oops, still on the paintbrush, my bad. Control Z is your friend. When you mess up, Control Z will undo the last item that you did. So now I'm going to come in and start to smudge and blend those colors in. And I don't have to worry about my eyeball because it's on its own layer. So I'm not going to run into it with the smudge tool at all. I just need to make sure that I don't accidentally smudge my eyelid up and overlap where I don't want to be. I can pull here to match that outline that I have. So this is getting rid of that kind of camo look and blending it in. Now, once again, I'm going to want to move my photo down so that I can see what this should look like. So I'm just going to pull this down, and now I can see where my lid needs some highlights and where it needs some shadows. So I can pop over, oh, that's ginormous. I can pop over to my dodge tool, which makes things brighter, and I'm going to try a mid-tone range, and I can come in here. See, it's already starting to make it look more 3D, and I can come in here, make it brighter. Likewise, I can take my burn tool, again, stay with the mid-tones, and oops, it didn't change. Dang it. I'm going too fast. All right, here we go. Ginormous. So I'm going to go to mid-tones, and I'm going to kind of hit those edge pieces where it should be a little bit darker. Make it a little bit darker, and then I continue to go back in and smudge and tweak. But I'm running out of time on the tutorial, so I'm going to skip any more smudging and just kind of fast forward. So if I hide my outline, I can kind of see where I've got to push my lid line and better connect my edges, where I need to smooth a little bit more, make things better match visually. But the big thing I'm missing is my eyelashes. So I want to real quick make my eyelashes. So I'm going to move my eyeball back up here. I'm going to hide my lids and line this up with my eyeball. Alright, I think I'm in the right spot. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to call it lashes. I'm going to put it above my lids and my eyeball layer. I'm going to use my eyedropper to pick up that top color. I'm going to use a brush that's about a 2 width. And I'm going to trace that edge. And then I'm going to use my eyedropper to pick up that bottom color and use my paintbrush to trace that edge. Now, I want you to take a minute to look at the direction the eyelashes are going on the top. I'm going to hide my photo. I'm going to make my smudge brush just a 2. And I'm going to up my strength or I'm going to be here all day. And I'm going to start to pull up eyelashes. So I noticed in the photo that they were kind of curling up here. See how they're kind of curling up that way? So from memory, I'm just kind of adding some lashes. The more you pull from that line, the darker they'll get at the bottom. And you can kind of spread them out and make them go the direction they were in the reference photo. So if you look here, they're kind of spread out over here and a little bit shorter, kind of go in a different direction. I can quickly do that. So I went around and smudged my lashes. I can take my eraser and put it on a really low strength. Sorry, my eraser, really low opacity. And I can go through and I can erase my lashes where they got too long. And by having that low opacity, it kind of helps them to kind of fade away. If my drawn line feels too intense, I can come in and fade it with the eraser tool as well. I can also come in with my burn tool and I can shade some of the lashes and make them get darker in spots. Or I can take my dodge tool and make them brighter in spots. I can kind of go back and forth between the two. So that's the basics. Once you get all the little pieces on, then you really have to look at your reference photo and start to see, okay, where do I need more value? Let me go in and add that. And you can start to draw and add to things and fix your colors. All right, that's the basics. Hopefully you're able to make a good eye in class on your own.